But government says it will no longer pay the salaries of lecturers and professors aged above 65 years who are teaching in public universities across Ghana. In a letter by the National Council for Tertiary Education, it directed all public universities to delete the names of the affected academic staff from the payroll, and that should be done by the close of the month. Signed by the Executive Secretary of the Council, Professor Mohammed Salifu, the letter referenced Article 199 of the 1992 Constitution, which prescribed age limit of some 65 years or age limit of 65 years for the appointment into the public sector. As a result, Maxwell Agbagba has been roving on the subject. So he will speak to the president of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the Legon chapter. Now we're joining him. Good morning to you, Maxwell. You've gone back to your alma mater.
Good morning to you, Roland. That's very true. That's very true, Roland. Specifically, at the offices of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the Legon chapter, and as you rightly mentioned, I'm here with the president, and we want to talk about post-retirement contracts. Government saying that by the end of October, the names of lecturers who are on post-retirement contracts should be deleted. We want to find out from the UTAC president what he makes of this. Already, it has generated conversations on the University of Ghana campus. And when I'm done with the UTAC president, we'll be speaking to some students as well to find out from them what they make of this directive. Doc, you're welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you very much, and good morning to our listeners.
Great. So we want to understand this from reports. The National Council on Tertiary Education wrote to the university authorities, but we are hearing that this letter actually started, first of all, from the Public Services Commission. How true is that?
That's exactly the point. About 3 months or so ago, the Auditor General raised the issue that it's against the law for people above 60 to still have their names on the payroll. And so he suggested that the university should seek clearance from the Public Services Commission and then the Ministry of Finance in order to continue to retain their names on the payroll. The university took steps, compiled a list to the Public Services Commission for that clearance to be granted. Unfortunately, the Public Services Commission refused. Then they wrote to NCTE to remind NCTE that it is against the law to continue to have people above 60 on the payroll, and that NCTE should take steps to make sure that those people's names are removed. So the NCTE also wrote to the universities. Now, I don't see where the blame should be. The blame should be, for me, should be with the Public Services Commission because they know so well what pertains on the ground in our universities. And so for them to refuse to grant the university that clearance in order to continue to maintain those colleagues on payroll, it's a worrying kind of situation.
Okay, so contrary to what many have described as the Auditor General's campaign to get people who are on contract, post-retirement contracts removed from government of Ghana payroll, you think that the Public Services Commission is to blame for this?
Yes, for me, it's the Public Services Commission that needs to be blamed. The Auditor General is doing his work. He is applying the law. He wants authorization to continue to keep such names on the payroll. So he feels that that authorization must come from Public Services Commission. So the universities approached the Public Services Commission for that authorization. They refused, blatantly refused. Several meetings have been held with them. They refused, thinking that the universities must be treated as the civil service or the public service, which is never done anywhere. Universities are to be treated as universities, not an appendage of any public service. If you want to treat the universities as any public service, whatever pertains in the public service must also pertain in the universities, then you don't have university at all. At best, then we have tertiary, institutions.
What makes the university special? I've heard the arguments that for a job like teaching in the university, just like driving, the more you drive, then you become experienced. I've heard the saying that lecturers are like wine. The older they are, the better, they taste.
Exactly. Exactly, because as you teach, as you research, that is where you gain the experience, that you come to know your subject area better than anybody else. So you are an expert in the area. And when it comes to training postgraduates, you need people of, senior lecturer, professorial rank to be able to treat them, to train them. And so by the time you become a professor, you are almost 80, and you are almost 60 and above, generally, because it is not easy. And so if you are thinking that somebody who has spent his time to gather knowledge and is now in a position to train the younger ones, because he's 60, he should be thrown out, then you are not doing the country any service at all. That is why all over the world, most places, lecturers teach for as long as they are able to. They decide, oh, I'm tired and I'm going. Nobody forces them out. But in our situation, for whatever reason, we think that because in the civil service, when people are 60, they should be taken off the payroll. We want to extend that to the university as well.
What do you make of arguments put forward by the Auditor General that it is because we have a lot of people on post-retirement contracts that is why the public service is choked. In fact, he has made arguments that is what is contributing to graduate unemployment. So some people need to go out to enable others get jobs.
Unfortunately, in the university, it's not any graduate who can teach in the university. You need a PhD to start with. And how long does it take one to get PhD in Ghana, for example? And they are not even in the market to hire. So that situation does not pertain in our universities.
You mean few people with PhDs?
We have few people with PhDs. We want people to be recruited, but we don't have them. Meanwhile, the government itself is not allowing for the recruitment of people to the universities because of so-called clearance and whatever. So in the university, we don't have a problem where you can say that because some people are on post-retirement contract, that is why there is no space for... There is space to hire people, but the people are not there.
There's a suggestion that if the university wants to retain those lecturers above 65 years, you can retain them as consultants and then, pay them from internally generated funds. What do you make of that suggestion?
And that is a problem. Government is supposed to fund universities 100%. As we speak, government is doing less than 50% of that funding. It's the universities that generate the funds to fill that gap for government. So if they are supposed to use that money to pay consultants, then where are we going? They will not have, some of the institutions will come crumbling down. They'll fold up. Some departments will fold up because the university will not have the money to pay them. So that is the difficulty. If government is funding universities 100%, and you are saying that the little whatever you get, use it to pay post-retirement contractors, that is fine. But government is not doing that. Government is not able to do that. As we speak, government funding is less than 50%. Where do the investors get the remaining 50%? To operate. It's through these internally generated funds. It's the same government, unfortunately, that wrote to the investors that they should pay 34% of the internally generated funds to consolidated fund.
Doc, before I move on to the students, finally, I want to know what is the way forward for UTAC. Already we've seen some opposition towards this, move. What is UTAC going to do?
The good news is that the President of the Republic has intervened. He called a meeting and has directed that the right thing be done.
Oh, when was this meeting called?
Oh, that was about 3 days ago.
3 days ago?
Yes. And so we are confident that this case will be put behind us. And looking into the future, something must be done about this so that it's not that it's been dealt with today and then tomorrow it's raised again. It must be dealt with once and for all.
I'm sure you had information from that meeting. Are you able to share with us what discussions went on with the president?
No, the president thinks that it is not done anywhere. And so he has asked that the stakeholders should sit down and resolve this problem once and for all. And that we need the professor. Without the professors, our universities cannot be rated.
So in the coming days, you'll be engaging the Public Services Commission and then the NCT?
Yes, they were at the meeting. They were at the meeting themselves, and they heard clearly what the president told them to do. So we are hopeful that in the next few weeks, this issue will be behind us.
Okay. I want to say a big thank you to you, Mr. Henry Agbano, Dr. Henry Agbano. He's the president of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the Legon chapter. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk to those I'd want to describe as, caught between the devil and then the deep, blue sea, because they have been complaining a lot about graduate unemployment. There are no jobs. This is actually to create space for them to get jobs. But they're also raising concerns that, they need the lecturers, especially the older ones, because they have more experience to teach them. Let's interact with them. Let's find out what they make of this move. I have with me Philip Asiao is actually a graduate student.
Yeah.
Well, what are you studying, Philip?
Communication studies.
Communication studies.
Right.
I'm told that at your department, for instance, you have 2 lecturers who are on post-retirement, contracts?
Well, not 2 lecturers on post-retirement contracts, but 2 professors.
2 professors?
Yes, yes. One is actually 57, so she's in the bracket, but one is on post-retirement contract. And so it makes it difficult for supervision for PhD programs to be effective. And they're even seeking to have more professors. So what happens is that if, as a university, you want your research hub to be very effective, you need more professors, because it's these professors that can supervise PhD programs. And if you go to the various departments, you realize that they are understaffed when it comes to professors. And University of Ghana has positioned itself in such a way that it will be a research-based university, and that is what has even helped it to be acknowledged as one of the best.
And it was one of the visions of the Vice Chancellor, the immediate past.
And that there's a continuity ongoing. So what happens is that with the influx of private universities, people can go offer their bachelor's, their Master of Science in some degrees, but they would have to come here and then do their graduate programs. And these graduate programs can only be effectively supervised by professors. So it's not just a question about
professors above 65 years. You have those below 65 years who can also do that.
No, mostly. Even as you were interacting with Dr. Agban, he made mention of the fact that there are few professors who are actually below 60 or 65. A lot of people spend their time researching, and so by the time they attain associate professorship status, they are about 55 or 50, and so they grow or they get experience on the job. So I think it's a sensitive position. Even if you are scraping it off, as is the argument, it is not automatic that you have people or you have lecturers occupying that position or being able to supervise these PhD candidates. So let me tell you, for my department, for instance, there are 2 people eligible to supervise PhD programs. So how many PhD students can they?
If the university lets go of them as this interesting. Let me find out from you, Aquafo. Now, you speak to a lot of graduates. The issue is unemployment, and you interact with a lot of students. Their main fear is getting out of the 4 walls of the university and how to get a job. Now, the Public Services Commission, the Auditor General, say we need to create space for people like you. That is why they are pushing for this directive. I mean, it's already stated in the Constitution anyways that 60 years go on retirement.
I think this is a very sensitive issue because me, for instance, if I'm done with school and I want to come back and do something at my department, I'll need someone with such an experience to help me and stuff. Sometimes it will be prudent that spaces are left for us to also come and occupy, but then some positions I think are sensitive, and we all know that to the extent that they go to before they get these kind of PhDs and then the professorship and other things. So when they get there and it's time for them to impart that knowledge to us and they are forced to leave, it's a very worrying phenomenon because we also need that knowledge. People travel all the way from the world to come here to gain that knowledge, to tap into their knowledge that they've gotten over the years. So if they are made or they are forced to leave, it becomes a very, very worrying situation.
Very worrying situation. Yeah. Let me find out from Nana Kwame. Ato Kwame, what do you make of this?
Well, you actually said that. Yeah. Well, you actually said that we are the ones caught in between the power struggle. Okay, we have the government and we have these teachers, but what the government should take note of is that we are the ones who are in need of jobs, right? And then they are trying to create a way for us to come out and to get those jobs. But if they take these lecturers who are going to give us that requisite knowledge for that job we have to do,
you don't even get the knowledge.
In the first place to come and do that job. So in the end, they've achieved nothing.
Okay.
All right. So this is what I'm thinking about this issue.
Okay. Let me wrap up with you, Nana Kwame. You've had a conversation. You've had Dr. Agbanu. What's your position on this? Lecturers above 65 years old should go.
Well, personally, I believe that they shouldn't be allowed to go because they are past the age 65. I believe that there are certain people still in the government sector, the public sector, that are over the age of 65. That's why we have ministers who are above the age 65, but then they are still handling government positions or ministerial appointments. But then we don't allow them to go because, let's say, they are not capable of doing it. But then because of their age, it is assumed that they have that experience to be able to perform those functions. That is why they are being kept in ministerial positions. So that is the same thing that should be done to our lecturers, because someone has sacrificed about 50 years of his life studying in academia, investing in academia, and he's now a professor. And you are telling him just after attaining that status for like 10 years, 15 years, he should go on retirement totally. It's not because the person is not capable of doing it, but because the law says so. But then I believe that the fact is that there are still jobs around, but then the people do not have the skill that is needed to be employed. Okay. So that is the problem.
Okay, I want to say a big thank you to you for joining the discussion. I know, Philip, you want to 30 seconds.
Yeah, quick one. I think that if they are saying that they should do that through IGF, we all know that ultimately students that will suffer because they'll just create a component in the fee structure and put it there. And so we are urging them to find a way out because they'll just burden us with fees.
So this would have a trickle-down effect on you because you're going to pay those lecturers if the university decides to retain them as consultants. Interesting. So, Mama, we just had a conversation here at the University of Ghana. I'm sure it's going to linger for some time. We're just waiting patiently to see how that discussion between the Public Services Commission, the NCTE, and then the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Government of Ghana, we're just waiting to see how that discussion would go. And hopefully, they'll be able to reach a consensus on this all-important matter. Over to you, the studio, Mama V.
All right, thank you very much, Maxwell Agbagba. I guess there would still be the talking points. I mean, this matter is not going to go away. A lot of people are talking about it, and that's the perspective that we brought to you on the AM show this morning. Thanks a lot. Our roving man, Maxwell Agbagba, live from the University of Ghana, Legon, speaking there to the president of the University Teachers Association and also some students on campus on this matter of delete names of lecturers who are 65 years and above. What do you think? Just go to our Facebook page and get interactive with us.